Hello to my PC. Today I'm making another tutorial for you guys. Today's video is going to be a pretty fun one. We're going to make a quiz game. So we're going to make a game where you can set up a bunch of questions, multiple choice, and somebody can take the quiz and then it'll tell them how well they did, how many they got right, how many they got wrong, etc, etc. Maybe we'll throw in percentage right there as well. So, like in my Primes tutorial, I decided to re-record the intro, so this was not recorded in December. And I also decided to re-record the actual video because the actual video is 70 minutes long and I didn't want to put you guys through that. Hopefully I can record it explaining the code in a far less time. So I'll be just going through explaining the code rather than typing it out. Again, if you please let me know which method you prefer, me typing out everything or me explaining out everything. Explaining everything in the code without typing it out will make the tutorial go faster, but I'm hoping that I don't lose anything in terms of comprehension for you guys. So this tutorial will also be split in two sections, like my Primes list tutorial, and those are: number 1, interface; number 2, logic. For the interface section, we're going to set up how an individual multiple choice question looks like. So we're going to have a separate class for that, because we're going to be using it over and over again. And we're going to organize all of the components using a box layout. And we're going to also learn about some new swing components like JRadio button, and I think we learned about another one as well, but you can look forward to that in the tutorial. So for the logic section, we're going to use another layout, and that layout is going to be a card layout. A card layout is kind of a strange layout in that you can't see all the components of the layout at one time. Usually the layout organizes where on the screen the components go, but in the card layout usually only one component is visible at a time, and then the card layout will organize when they're visible. So it's a little bit odd, but again, more on that in the tutorial. I guess that's all I want to talk about. That's moving right along. I'll see you in the tutorial. Alright then, so here we are. So this is what our final result is going to look like. So we have our quiz set up here in 3 sections, or our question set up in 3 sections. It's part of section 1, the question, which is going to be a J label, and then our multiple choice answers, which are going to be a bunch of radio buttons with different answers, and the 3rd section is going to be our control buttons, where we can move between the questions, or finish, I guess. So we're organizing this using a box layout, and a box layout, when you add things to it, it'll either keep adding them vertically or keep adding them horizontally. In this case, every time we add one, hops in on the top, then we add another one, it's this group, then we add a 3rd one with this group, and no matter how we align these, those groups will always be vertically aligned the same way. It'll always be on top of the question, next multiple choice, and then after the buttons. And so we organize each section into panels. So we have a panel for the question, panel for this, and a panel for this, and that's how we organize that. So we have 3 panels, each with different stuff in them. Alright, so that's what we're going to be doing this tutorial. We're going to set up the interface of a single question. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. So the class we have for that is radio question. So this is what we're going to be making in this part of the tutorial. So we have our 3 sections that I explained earlier: the questions, the answers, and the bottom section, which I couldn't think of a better name for, I guess. So we create a panel for each one, because that's how we're going to keep things organized. And the questions, I didn't seem to add a J label, but I'm sure I'll get around to that later. I'm not exactly sure why, actually. And in here, we have JRadio button. The way JRadio button works is there are several of them, and every time you click one, well, there can only be one selected. Alright. Another class that's very similar is JCheckbox. And the way JCheckbox works is exactly the same as radio button, where you can click and turn them on and off. Only with JCheckbox you can have multiple checked, whereas with JRadio button you can only have one checked. So that's what we do here. We create an array of them because we're going to have multiple of them, multiple answers. And then after we create a button group, what a button group does is basically keeps JRadio buttons organized, so that when you click one it'll turn all the rest of them off, or it'll turn the other one that's on off. So once we initialize all these responses, we'll be adding them to this button group, so they'll be organized in a, so they'll stay aligned, so that when we click on one it'll turn the other ones off. Okay, so now for the bottom, fairly standard, we have a panel and we have two buttons set up. That should be fairly comfortable for you. Okay, so now we have the constructor. So this is not our driver class. When I say driver class, I mean the class with the main method. So the program does not start with this class. So therefore, we're not going to be starting with main method. It doesn't have main method. It has a constructor. So every time this is created, it'll be created from this constructor with parameters and all that, which might feel a little different from you because we usually start with a main method. So one thing to note is that this extends JPanel. So when this is initialized, you initialize it the same way as JPanel, except there's a couple of extra stuff that we added here. But other than that, it operates pretty much the same way as JPanel. Okay, so radio question, name of the thing. We have 4 parameters. We have the string Q, which is going to be whatever our question is. We have an array of options, which are going to represent what we have next to each of the options. So if the question is what's your favorite color, this array would be a string with a bunch of colors, red, green, blue, etc. And then an ant is which section of this array is the right answer. So if it's red, green, blue, and the correct answer is red, then this would be 0. If the correct answer is green, this would be 1. Correct answer is blue, this would be 2. So this indicates what the correct answer is. And this is something we'll get into later, but quiz is what we're going to call our driver class. So we need to keep track of our driver class in this class, so that way when we give information to the driver class, when we tell the driver class whether the user got it right or not, we know we have the driver class address. We can refer back up to it. So that's why we are passing the driver classes in as one of the parameters. So right away in the beginning, we say this.quiz is equal to quiz and correct answer is equal to answer. And you can see we have correct answer right there, and we have quiz right here. So that's where those two variables are initialized. And then we set the layout. Remember, this is a JPanel, so we're setting the layout of this class, the JPanel, to a new box layout. Box layout, the way that works is it has 2 parameters. One is which object is organizing, in this case this JPanel. It's a similar situation as right here, where we pass in ourself as a parameter so that it can refer back to us for more information. And then this is a constant, it's a number, but the number is stored as a variable inside box layout, so we have an easier time not having to remember what all the numbers indicate. So we want it to be organized along the y-axis, so every time we add a new one, it'll be added vertically. Okay, and then we gotta add everything, so we have our question, our answer, and our bottom section. So here we're gonna add new JLabel. That's why I didn't initialize up there. I decided to create it here since we don't want to mess with it later on. So we're just going to create it and not give it a name. It's a matter of preference. You could have initialized it up there as well. So we're going to go ahead and add that to our question panel, and then we're going to add the question panel to this panel. Answer. So we have our array, but it doesn't have anything in it. So we're going to first initialize it to however many options we have. So options being this, all of the possible responses, multiple choice. So we want the number of radio buttons to match the number of these options, which is why we set the length of the array to the length of options. And then we're going to iterate through each of those. You can see how that works. So I less than whatever the length is, I plus plus, so that will iterate through every index in the length. So, and every time we go through it, first we're going to create a new object of the JRadio button. And one of the constructors for JRadio button takes a string, so we're putting in the corresponding name in this string. Is what we're doing right here. So if we put down giraffe, then the string corresponding to this button, when that's going to be put right next to the button, is going to be this giraffe. But we have a variable for that. Okay. Then we're going to add an action listener, because later on we're going to use that. I should probably just put that aside. Don't worry about that. I'm sure you understand how that works, but don't worry about that. Okay, then we're going to say group.add. Remember, we created the button group up here, and we're going to go ahead and add this response to that button group. So this way, or we can add this to the number of radio buttons that the button group is in control of. And then we're going to add our button to the answer panel. The button group isn't actually a physical thing that we add to the panel. It's just sort of an abstract thing that organizes everything. Okay, so this will go and add all the buttons to the panel, or to the answer panel, and then once we're finished with that, we'll go and add the answer panel. And then down here, we're going to set the bottom, which, well, more action listeners here. Let me just get rid of that so it doesn't confuse anyone, or it shouldn't, but yeah. And okay, so we're going to go ahead and add the two buttons to the bottom panel, and then we're going to go ahead and add the bottom panel. So that's all for this class really, but we want to test it out. So you can write a quick main method. Here's all the stuff you would say in the main method. The standard stuff: size, close operation, resizable. And then we're going to set the parameters for this so you can pass it in. So I created this array as all the answers. So we have 2 wrong answers and a right answer. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a new object of this class. So this is, I think the way you would say this from a static perspective, this is not seeing the class as an object. And then all this is non-static perspective, so that is seeing the class as an object. So because of that, because it's from a static perspective, we can create a new object of this class inside here. And so the question is, what's right? The options are this array, so wrong 1, right, wrong 2, and then we have 1 right here. And I actually created this main method before we had this section to it, so currently it won't run. But I guess you could remove this variable and then you can test it out. Well, I guess I could do that too. So get rid of that. Get rid of that. And then if I compile this, it should work. Radio question.java radio question. Okay. Main method not found. Okay, I need to save this. That's what I need to do. I was wondering why I didn't get an error. Okay. Okay, that's more like it. Main method not found in class radio question. Please define the main method. Okay, well that was the first time, and then here. Looks like I screwed something up in here. Aha, here we go. That was my bad. That was probably when I got rid of that to, well, let's see. Yeah, that's when I got rid of that to prove a point earlier. Okay, so that's probably where all these errors are coming from. 5 errors, not bad. That's because I was screwing up this. This shouldn't make a difference to you. I had these variables hidden so that you wouldn't need to worry about them, but that gives me errors. Okay, there we go. Never be stressed by errors. Okay, so you can see that this triggered the main method over here, and so we had our JFrame, and we added a new object. This is the panel, so we added this panel to the class, and then it turned out like this. So you can see that's how it turned out, with what's right being the question, all of the answers corresponding to the answers in this array, and then we have our next and finish button. Alright, and by the way, if you're probably not used to seeing it from this perspective, like where I'm creating an object with JFrame. Usually I have the class extend JFrame, but in this case I'm actually creating it right here, and then I'm saying, instead of saying set size, set default close operation, I'm saying frame dot, because I'm making changes to this object right here. I didn't say super because I took care of it in this constructor. So it's a good thing for you to see. It doesn't really make a difference one way or another, but this is just a good way for you to see. Okay. So that's how our radio question object works. Next tutorial we're going to be, well, this is basically the interface of it. Next tutorial we're looking more at logic, so we're going to add action listers to all of these things, make it interact with the quiz, and quiz is going to make a bunch of radio question. We're just going to set up a bunch of them. It's going to be calling this constructor several times, and it'll set up a whole test for us. So, link in the description to the next part. I might put an annotation if I remember to do so. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time.